All right, joined now by Dan Roche to talk about Rafael Devers' comments about a possible move to first base. And Dan, Raffy was on the record yesterday talking about the void at first base and who's ultimately going to take over that spot now that Tristan Casas is out for the season. And Raffy, for this moment, definitively, and very definitively, said he's not interested in moving over to first base. We'll get into the quotes themselves, but what was your immediate reaction after hearing all this yesterday?
I think the first one is the old school reaction is like, what? What are you talking about? Come on, he's a ball player, right? Let's just go. But then you kind of breathe a little bit and think about it. And, I looked at his quotes and what have you. And again, granted, I wasn't there. And so I haven't been there through this whole thing, Joe, just following from afar. But you have a situation where if it was me and if it was you, I think and a lot of younger players, I think you would say, all right, give me a glove, give me a third base glove, give me a first base glove. And from day one, when that announcement came down or that they told him in spring training that they wanted him to be the full-time DH, I'd still get up and get out there an hour early and take some ground balls at third, take some ground balls at first. And just because you eventually may move there, that would be me. But that's kind of not the way some of these ball players are thinking. So in some ways, I give Raffy a pass on this one because they went to him once already after he's had a pretty good career and is making $300 million and he's paid for that for his hitting. They went to him once and said, we want you to change positions from a third baseman to full-time DH. And now they're going to him again and saying, we want you to change from a full-time DH to a first baseman. In the middle of the season, it was an off-season thing. I think it'd be a lot easier. So I do have some compassion for Devers in this situation. Saying again, if that was me and I was down there, I would have already been taking ground balls and doing everything I can, asking the coaches to teach me how to play first base.
It's such a complicated issue, isn't it? There's just a lot of different layers to it. And the quotes, they were striking in how honest they were from Raffy about the whole situation, about his discontent right now with the front office. And just to give you a couple of the quotes, he was asked about the first base situation and if anybody's come to talk to him about it. He said, they came to me and talked to me about it. I know I'm a ball player. At the same time, they can't expect me to play every single position out there. In spring training, they talked to me and basically told me to put my glove away. I wasn't going to play another position other than DH. Right now, I don't think it would be an appropriate decision by them to ask me to play another position. And then he specifically called out Craig Breslow, and he didn't mention his actual name, called him the GM, and just said he played ball. I would like to think he knows that changing positions isn't easy. It is worth mentioning that this was all translated through the team's interpreter, Davison Perez. So there might be a little bit that got lost in translation in the sense of it wasn't his exact words, but the feeling of his words were certainly translated to the press and now to the Sox fans. What specifically among all this stood out to you the most with the quotes itself, Dan?
Well, I think he kind of was very honest. Like you said, he just said, listen, I'm a ball player. They came to me, they said once already, will you change positions? Now they're doing it again. And I've been trying to think, somebody that's in the game, that's made that, was rewarded with the contract, for what he has done, let's face it, with his bat. And now they're kind of come and saying, let's go from third to DH because we have a chance to sign Bregman. All about that. Yes. Okay. I'd be all in on that. Now we want you to be the full-time DH. Okay. I didn't like it at first because I don't want to become labeled. And now, unforeseen circumstances have created this with the injury to Casas being out for the season. They want me to come and change again. And I was trying to think, Joe, if it's comparable to anybody else that would be asked, it'd be like maybe Pete Alonso with the Mets being asked to go, signing a deal, a long-term deal, and then being asked to go from first to third 2 months into the season. Right? That's not easy for anybody, and it's a process. It's like saying to Mike Trout, can you go from center field or right field to come in and play second base? It's just, some people have that skill. Mookie Betts, it's easy for him, right? Because he's such a natural athlete. For Devers, I don't know. You know what I mean? And again, you got to find the right way to click it with him, because I think if you sat him down and really told him, this is the circumstances we're in now, we're not going to throw you there tomorrow. We're going to coach you up. So we'll get you there early. No one will watch, and we'll just kind of get you loose and see if you can play first, right? I think I would throw it that way at him. and just like see if you can do it. And we're not going to interfere with your hitting day, but just give us an hour each day early. Come in then and figure it out. That's how I would approach it. So I don't blame Devers in this situation. I think it's just one of those things that you got to be careful of how you do it.
Yeah, and it seemed like Alex Cora was trying to be careful about it. He wasn't willing to commit to the media that he was even saying that he was going to have a conversation with him about it, saying, I initially, no, he's my DH, no, he's my DH, and then maybe reneged on it just a slight bit in an interview with WEEI recently, opening that door a tiny bit, but also still saying he wants him to be the DH. And Dan, I'm actually glad you brought that up about how this is a unique situation, and you were trying to find a comparable version of it, because I've been thinking more and more about all of this, and my take on it is similar to what you said at the beginning, where you'd hope somebody with this contract, who's in many ways still the face of the franchise, you'd hope that they'd be willing to do anything to help this team be in the best position it can be. And there is a very fair argument to say if Rafael Devers plays first base, it puts the team in the best spot because it opens up that DH spot for Masataka Yoshida to possibly hit there if the Red Sox deem him medically able to do that. And then on top of that, you could also possibly add Roman Anthony into the mix too. And this team has been dying to figure out a way to get him into the fold with how well he's playing in AAA. So I think all of that is fair, especially from the fan perspective, just wanting this team to be the best version it can be. That all being said, I don't know if there's a comparable situation across Major League Baseball because I've seen a lot of people say, well, Aaron Judge moved from right to center, or Fernando Tatis moved from shortstop to the outfield, or Bryce Harper becoming a first baseman after being an outfielder. All those things are true. All those guys are star players. But the biggest difference in comparing all those situations to Rafael Devers is none of them were told, hey, you got to put the glove aside. You're not going to be playing the field at all, and you are specifically going to be a DH. And now you're asking in a month's time, basically, to change that whole perspective in his mind to say, not only do we need you back in the field right now, Raffy, we need you at a position that you never played before. It's not comparable to other situations across the sport in my mind, and that's what makes this more complicated.
Well, and I think you could also maybe take it to the everyday workers, right? All of us. Like if someone comes to you and says, hey, we have somebody else in your position that we think can really help us and can make us a winning team as far as whatever your product is, whether you're selling cars or whether you're, a mechanic or you're just out in the streets, and paving roads or whatever. He's really, really good at this. And we're going to pay him and bring him in. Okay. All right. Well, I want you now to drive the truck instead of like being on the ground, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I don't know if I could do that. And then now we don't know what the conversations were actually like with Craig Breslow and Alex Cora. They may have really sold like this, in a big time way. Like Raffy, we're just asking you to do what you do best in your life, and that's hit a baseball. So all we want you to do is focus on that. Don't worry about it for the season. That's now your home. You're David Ortiz. You've become the face of the franchise as the designated hitter. You can make the all-star teams. You can maybe make the Hall of Fame because Ortiz is in there, blah, 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 blah. And then someone gets hurt and to switch it right back to, like you said, we want you to come back. No, not third. We want you to come back at first base where he's never played there. And his focus is strictly on hitting, and he's just gotten used to that position. There's a lot of pride there. I'm sure he doesn't want to be embarrassed. But at the same time, again, I go back to what should have been done when David Ortiz was playing, and it was different back then. He knew that if they made the World Series or an interleague play, he would have to go play first base. So he would take ground balls. He would have that first base glove with him, and he would just go out and do it. It was just part of his routine. That should have been, and again, I don't know if it's an agent. I don't know if it's, close friends to Devers, teammates, whoever he's closest with, Alex, Craig, saying, listen, hey, we're going to make you the full-time DH. Concentrate, focus on that. But down in spring training, when you get out there, if you want to take some ground balls at third, take some ground balls at first, it could just help us as a team. So there's all kinds of factors that go into this one, Joe, and I think it's a unique situation that we really haven't seen. So I'm not going to bark at Devers on this one. I'm not going to bark at Breslow and Cora because they're trying to come up with the best way to win. I just think it's tough. And the one other thing you got to be careful about in that clubhouse is you're one of those leaders. You're one of the faces of the franchise. You can't be saying, nope, It's all about, they told me, no, you got to be careful how you word it too, because you got a lot of young, impressionable guys out there with you that if Rafael hears this and everything else, well, Devers said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So there's all kinds of that factor into with the guys in the clubhouse and how they handle that too.
And I think that's a great point, Dan. And that's another part of this, that if you're somebody that's in the completely pro Devers camp, you do have to think about that part of the equation. How does this go over in the clubhouse where, listen, this team's still trying to find their footing. They're 20-19 right now, and there were higher expectations for this group this season. And we all thought that they would be a little bit better 39 games into the season. They're not, and that's just the reality at this point. So you add in this whole dynamic, and now it's a talking point in this town too. And we love to talk sports, Dan, and controversies. I mean, listen, it makes for good radio, it makes for good business. As much as we'd like to just see the Red Sox just play, win games, and do that and have fun, we now have to talk about this. But I'm curious what you think is going through Alex Cora's mind right now, because he's trying to navigate this whole situation. And from this perspective, it's also interesting because, listen, Raffy was not happy when they moved him off third, but he eventually took ownership of this DH spot. I mean, since April 1st, he's got a .524 slugging percentage, 409 on base, 294 average. Like he's figured out this spot. And so what Alex Cora wanted him to do and own this position, he's now done that. And now all of a sudden it's a whole different calculus of, hey, we might need to get this guy to play first base now. What do you think's going through his mind?
Which is maybe I think that Craig Breslow said, I'll take the hit as the fall guy here, right? Because I think because Alex and Devers adores Cora, loves playing for him, and Alex has been very good at motivating him. So he sold that whole bill of goods, went through the whole, I'm sure it wasn't just one conversation. And I'm sure it was every day, especially in spring training. You're bouncing from guy to guy to guy and just talking to him. Hey, how's your family? Blah, 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 blah. If you're Alex, and, it looks like you're coming along now. And remember, he didn't really start spring training until very late. He had very few at-bats, and it was why he was maybe kind of overwhelmed in Texas that first series. But Alex finally got it into, hey, trust me on this, saying this to Devers, saying this to Breslow, saying this to the team. Trust me, I know how to get him. I know how to get him, focused in, and he'll be a good for us as that DH. I'm not worried about him. And then he comes out, and now he's finally acclimated to that. And now he's going to walk in and say, by the way, Raffy, what we said about being the full-time DH, I'm going to have to move you to first base. And again, it's different because just, in my heart, it just says, okay, Skip, right? Because that's old school, right? That's just old school. Whatever you need me to do, I'll start taking ground balls right now. Whatever you need me to do, I can do it. I can help. That's just kind of not how it is with some of these players, and especially a guy that's being paid $300 million and is an all-star and, kind of one of those guys. I think it's just very difficult. So I think, to me, it's almost unfair to him and unfair to Alex. And I think now if you're Breslow Company, you kind of got an answer from everybody here. Now go about it with what you're doing with the platoon, with Romy Gonzalez and Toro, and then, you start thinking about some of the other options that you have too.
Do you worry at all that maybe Craig Breslow and Alex Cora aren't fully aligned in their messaging about all this?
No, I think because, I think it might be a good cop, bad cop. It's almost like being a parent. I'm the one that all my kids ran to when mom would say, you have to do this, you have to do that. She played the role of bad cop. And sometimes my wife would say, hey, listen, when you talk to your son or your daughter, take it easy on them because I was really harsh on them when they did something wrong. And it's almost like that. It's almost like, okay, Breslow's sitting there saying, we got to get this. We got to see if he has any interest, if we can get it by. And Alex is saying, whoa, I just did all this. I sold everything I had to make this happen. Breslow's like, okay, I'll take this one. I'll approach him with it and see how that goes. And that's just, I think to me, it's just kind of playing a dual role of what your responsibilities are to the team. And again, they're trying to get the best winning lineup out on the field. And again, saying that, it hurts me to say that too. Again, because you're sitting there saying, what's the best way we can win? That's all you care about. So, part of this is Devers' fault too. At some point, you got to sit there and say, whether it be tomorrow, whether you say no, put on a glove and just go and take some ground balls and just try to learn the position. What's it going to hurt? Is it going to really hurt you as a baseball player? Is it going to hurt you as a full-time DH? If every day you're out there at certain times, just taking ground balls and working with the coaching staff and saying, how are my feet? How do I scoop a baseball? To me, that's your job. It's fun, right? It's like, this is part of what you're doing. So I kind of put the blame on everybody in this situation. And it's unfortunate because of Casas and that injury. That's cost them because they didn't have depth at first base. That's the other factor here too, if you want to throw that in as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that depth at first base right now, Dan, just to round this all out. So they have Romy Gonzalez as a guy that they can roll out there. He's expected to be ready to go this weekend after taking a tumble in this series against the Rangers and just aggravating his back and being day-to-day. Also, Abraham Toro as well. And, I'll say this about Romy Gonzalez, and then I want to get your thoughts on it. He has capably filled that spot in his time with the Sox. He's played a little over 30 games at first base over the last 2 years. He's had 32 games in which he's appeared in, and he's actually a +4 in defensive runs saved at first base. He's also hitting over 300 this year, and there's only two parts of this that would concern me if he got an extended run. There's not a whole lot of pop there that you would see compared to other first basemen, and then on top of that, he does have an injury history. But I do think he could capably hold down this spot for a bit. What do you think?
Well, yeah, and I think that's maybe how you have to look at it first is a stopgap measure, and then you see how it unfolds. If it works and they can kind of hide that in the lineup and it works defensively, then I think you kind of go about your business. And again, remember, let's see where they are, right? They're a game over 500, and they've been trying to find themselves here. If, as you get closer and closer to the trade deadline, maybe there's a team out there that's really, given up or what have you, and you can pry a first baseman that way, a veteran first baseman that you can use to play third base. I mean, it's like when they brought Doug Minkiewicz in here in 2004 and had him play the rest of the way, and he solidified that lineup, and everyone said, why Minkiewicz? I don't know about that, but he was good. He was good with Millar and everything else, so you could work someone in, a veteran that way. And then the other thing too, Joe, that goes through my mind is I would have already done this too if I was Marcelo Meyer, if I was Roman Anthony, if I was anybody. And again, you don't have to do it in front of the media, so when people get to the ballpark, they see it. I'd have already started like, hey, give me a glove, especially if you're Meyer. We watched him play in spring training. He handles shortstop, second base, third base like it was easy, right? So he looks like a kid that has that ability to just add first base to his resume. And just put a first baseman glove on and start with the coaches down there, away from everybody else. You don't have to see it. And for those guys, it's a way to the big leagues, right? That's all they're looking for right now is get me a spot in the big leagues, get me to be able to play in the big leagues, and I can do everything else too. So I kind of think there's all kinds of things that go into this, and we'll see how it unfolds.
There's so many now routes available or avenues that this team can go. If the Devers door is actually closed. He's saying it is, but we've seen him change his opinions over time, and we'll see maybe if Alex Cora can massage this a bit. But definitely some striking quotes from Devers about all this. And now we see how the Sox move forward from this spot. Because again, just 20-19 right now. They're coming off a series win, which now gets put in the back burner because this is all everybody's talking about.
Well, and I think my final thought, Joe, would be this, right? The theme of this spring training this year from the manager, from Breslow, from the ownership was this year is about winning. We've given you the players. We've put you in those positions. So maybe they take a step back. Maybe Craig Breslow on the road is a good place to do it. Maybe Craig Breslow, maybe Alex Cora, shut the door. They have a team meeting and say, listen, guys, we're trying to win at all costs, whatever we can do to win. Each of you have a responsibility as a player, as a member of this Red Sox organization, to give everything you have to winning. And don't single people out. Don't point at Raffy, say, if I want you to play first, you play first. Just get that message across to everybody and say, this year is different. It's about winning, because that's what they preach from day one of spring training. Get everybody on board with that. Just remind them. And then that's part of the process, again, of this is what we need to do. It's win, and let's figure it out. What's best for the baseball team, what's best for everybody. And the best thing that can happen to anybody in this organization right now is winning.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Dan, appreciate the time. Hopefully next time we do a Sox chat, things are a little bit settled.
Yes, I know. The Celtics are settled as well, too.
Yes,
right? Need that too.
It's been a tough week so far, without a doubt.
Yes, sir.
Dan,
all right, Joe.
It.